and this is going to be a Yin Yoga practice. If you have not ever practiced Yin Yoga before, let me give you a little introduction. Yin is very different than other kinds of yoga classes. This is the yoga class where you get yourself into a pose, and it can feel maybe a little intense or a little uncomfortable, and we hold these poses for sometimes 3 to 5 minutes at a time. We get into a place, we settle in, and we stay there and allow the pose to do the work on our bodies rather than us doing the work. We'll get started, and as we move, I'll explain a little bit more about Yin, and I will guide you on how to best make this practice work for you. You will want to grab your props. Today, right here, I have a Mexican blanket that we will use in various positions. I have a couple of yoga blocks. I have a strap. And I also have here a small cushion. Now, we'll not necessarily need all of these, but props are very helpful in a Yin Yoga class in order to allow you to get to a place where you can stay in the pose. To get started today, you can just first find a comfortable seat, and you can sit with your legs crossed if you like. Take your yoga blanket, your Mexican blanket, and you can fold it over maybe into a rectangle, and then just let your sit bones sit up right on the edge of that blanket, just to lift your hips a little bit higher than your knees. That might make it a little more comfortable for you. And as you find your comfortable seat, allow your hands to find your lap. Maybe close your eyes and start to tune into your breath. First, just noticing how you're breathing right now. Is your breath quick and choppy? Is it perhaps calm and slow? Without judgment, just noticing how your breath is. Let's take 2 big inhales and open mouth exhales together. Inhale here. Open your mouth, exhale. Inhale. Open your mouth, sigh it out. Now seal your lips and breathe through your nose gently. Start to allow your inhales and exhales to lengthen and to become about the same duration on each side. Let these breaths be smooth and gentle, not too forceful. And with every exhale, feel yourself just relaxing a little bit more. Letting go of any holding that you might be doing. Just settling into your seat. As we move today, we'll use our breath to help us regulate and stay in a certain shape. When you are ready, you can stay sitting on your blanket if you like. You can extend your legs out in front of you. Now, you don't want your knees to lock out. You don't want them to bend too far back. So if you're sitting on your blanket, you can grab your block and just rest your block underneath your knees. If the blanket is not comfortable for this position, just move the blanket out of the way. And still you can allow the block to rest underneath your knees. With your hands on the backs of your hands resting on the mat, your palms are face up, just start to allow your chin to be heavy, moving toward your chest. And start to just roll in. You're allowing your head to roll toward your knees. We've got our palms face up here so that we can avoid the urge to pull ourselves into this fold. We really are just rolling forward. And you will find the place where you don't roll forward anymore, and that's where you'll stay. And just come to your breath, allowing your breath to be long and smooth. Your breath becomes a little choppy. Maybe pull out of the shape just a little bit until you can find that smoothness of breath. And we're just here. We're allowing the connective tissue, the fascia, on our back side of our body to start to release. We have this fascia, this connective tissue that runs throughout our body. And there is a layer of fascia that runs all the way from the soles of your feet, all the way up the backs of your legs, to your back, all the way up your back, to your neck, all the way around, over the top of your skull, around to your eyebrows. And this shape is allowing that fascia to start to release and relax so that it can get some of the nourishment it needs. Now stay right here, just allowing yourself to breathe. And as your fascia starts to release, you might notice that you fold in a little bit more. And as that happens, simply allow it. In this practice, we don't do any pulling or pushing of ourselves. We allow gravity to do the work, and we allow the weight of our body to do the work. Now, as you're here, if your head starts to feel really heavy and your neck is not comfortable, you can grab a block and place it on your thighs or your shins, wherever might be, and allow your forehead to just rest right there on the block. This way, you might be able to stay in this shape a little longer without activating your muscles. Yin Yoga does not use it. We don't use our muscles in Yin Yoga. We allow the fascia to be what is affected here. And settle in. Sometimes as we start to release and find our fascia giving up some of the tension that it has, sometimes we might find that there are emotions coming up. And if that's the case, just notice, try to witness the emotion without judgment, and allow it to rise up, and then allow it to float, dissolve. Two more breaths right here. Very slowly as we came in, start to Roll your spine up and slowly start to lift your head. You can move your props off to the side, and let's lie down on our back just for a moment. Slowly roll yourself down with the soles of your feet on the mat about hip width distance apart, your knees pointed up. Gently and slowly allow your knees to move side to side, back and forth, just a couple of times each way. And then we will come back to center. You can roll over onto your side and push yourself back up to a seat. From here, let's move into our tabletop position on our hands and knees. From here, we can take a couple of cat-cows. Just dip your belly down, lift your sit bones, lift your chest, lift your gaze. When you breathe out, round your spine up, spread your shoulder blades apart, let the tailbone drop, let the head drop. And a couple of more with your breath. As you inhale, the belly reaches down toward the mat. And as you exhale, the back of the body curls up. And come back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes. You're going to tuck your toes so that make sure that all 10 toes are touching the mat. If you need to reach back and maybe spread out the little toes to make sure that they can touch the mat, you can do that. And start to slowly walk your hands back toward your knees. Your hips are moving toward your heels. As you walk your hands back, maybe you bring your hands to your thighs and lift your torso and sit back on your heels. This can be a very intense place to be. This pose is called toe breaker. So we know that it is a tough place to be sometimes. And so if this is too much, if this is not a place that you'll be able to sit and hold this shape, then one option is to take your blanket. You can also use a block and come up off of your heels. Place that blanket across the backs of your ankles, and then you can sit your hips back. That helps you put a little bit more weight into the knees and a little bit less on the hips. Putting a little bit more weight into the knees though, sometimes we might need a little bit more cushion, and if that's the case, just grab your mat and pull it back so you have a little bit more padding. Wherever you are, whether you are propped up a little bit or you're sitting down, allow your hands again to rest face up, the backs of your hands resting on your thighs. Maybe your eyes close and tune in again to your breath. Sometimes allowing the exhale to be a little bit longer than the inhale can help steady us. With Yin Yoga, one of the challenges is to simply be still. We move into this place that is a little uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. And then we really practice not responding, not reacting to that discomfort, but just staying in that shape, in that place. We hold Yin Yoga poses for a little bit longer to allow our nervous system some time to accept that even though this is an uncomfortable place, it's safe. So we are teaching our flight, fight, freeze response to slow down, and that we really don't have to fight or flight or flee, fight, flee, freeze. Instead, we can just sit and know that sometimes, even though we're uncomfortable, we are safe. It is a way to train the nervous system and allow it to release. Start to walk your hands forward on your mat. You can move the mat back out if you like. And come back to your hands and knees. If you have the blanket on the backs of your legs, move that out of the way. Untuck your toes. Bring the tops of your feet to the mat and just tap it out. You can tap the tops of the feet out. That will release some of that tension. Maybe you circle one ankle at a time. Just whatever you need to do to remind your feet that you really do love them. Here, if you like, you can take another round of cat and cow. And come back to center. Now we have the tops of our feet on the mat. The toes are untucked. And we will start to walk the hands back toward the knees once again. And we're going to sit the heels, the hips back to the heels. And just like before, if this is not sustainable, then grab your blanket and rest it on the backs of your ankles. And then you can sit back down. So now you will feel the tops of your shins on the mat and the tops of your feet on the mat. And again, this can be intense, so make some adjustments, but find your way to a still place. Noticing your breath. When we practice Yin Yoga, because we are trying to not use our muscles here, it's best to practice when you're cold. That means before you have exercised. So these are not, this practice is not something that you do after you go for your run and then come home to cool down. Instead, this is a practice that you do before you have done those exercises. And that's what allows us to get into the connective tissue rather than for the muscles to try to do all the work. Longer exhales. And can you notice any place that you're holding, trying to lift yourself up? Can you just let that go and allow yourself to release a little bit? Open your mouth wide, stretch your jaw out. Allow your jaw to move from side to side. And as you close your mouth, close your lips, notice if your tongue immediately wants to go to the roof of your mouth. Try to let your tongue release from the roof of your mouth and just be heavy. ready, you can bring your hands to the mat, start to place weight into your knees, move that blanket out of the way. Again, you might want to tap your feet out here, circle your ankles. And then let's come to a seat on the mat. We're going to do a little work on opening up our hips. To do that, you're going to want your blocks handy. And you may want your blanket. You may want to sit on your blanket on the very edge of it, just to lift your hips the way that we did that before. Start with your left leg in front of you. Okay, start with your left leg and let that shin be parallel to the top of the mat. And then take the right leg and you're going to cross it over. The ankle is going to be close to the knee, maybe in front of the knee or on top of the knee, like so. Now, if this is not a place that your leg wants to go at this point, that's when we're going to use the block. And you can bring that block in front of the knee and let the ankle rest right there. If that's too high, you can lower it down to the lowest height and let the ankle rest in front of the knee here. And you may be feeling this in this left hip. You may also be feeling a little bit of pressure in your knee, and that is to be expected and fine. A little pressure is fine, but if it is a painful situation, if you have knee issues, then you're going to want to allow that leg to be a little bit farther out. You know your body, so please listen to it and take good care. Now, another option is if your ankle can sit on top of your knee, allow it to do that. But sometimes then this knee is very high above this ankle and it's hard to stay put. So then here you can put a block under there just to support the ankle, to support the knee. Wherever you are, make any adjustments that you need and start to settle. If your knee is floating above, your top knee is floating above the bottom ankle, you can rest your hand maybe on that knee without pressing. Even turn the palm up, not pressing, just allowing the weight to do the work. And settle in. Use your breath. With every exhale, try to let go of a little bit of the effort that you might be building up around your hips. We don't realize it, but we store a lot of tension in our hips. And so a pose like this might bring up a lot of emotions. Don't fight it, just allow it. If you like, if you need a little bit more sensation here, you can start to lean forward. Just leaning your torso forward over your legs. Allow your spine to round if you're leaning forward. pressing, just letting it go. If you are leaning forward, walk your hands back towards your torso. Lift your torso. Slowly use your arms, your hands, to start to unwind your legs. Bring the soles of your feet to the floor. You can hold your hands on the floor behind you and sway your knees back and forth. And we will go to the other side. So now your right leg is parallel to the long edge of your mat, or the whatever, it's parallel to the long or short edge of your mat. And then bring this top ankle around. Again, you're headed for your knee, but if it's not the place you need to be yet, use your props. Take your time, make your adjustments, find your spot, and recognize that your two sides of the body are different. So where one leg goes, the other one may or may not, and that is absolutely normal and absolutely fine. It's not something to be corrected. It's just something that is. See if you can allow your shoulders to relax down away from your ears. You may feel, we talked about the tension that you may feel in your knee. You may also feel some activity in your ankle, and that is also just fine. Yin places gentle stress on our connective tissue and on our joints. These are things that don't get attention in other forms of exercise. If you like, you can start to lean forward over those legs. And when the sensation gets very intense, really rely on your exhales to allow you to sit through it. If you are folded over your legs, start to lift your torso. You can use your hands to unwind. And once more, we'll bring the soles of the feet to the floor and sway your knees. Any movements that you need to release. If you have any props around you, move them out of the way. And with your soles, the soles of your feet on the mat, slowly roll yourself down to your back. Once you're on your back, hug your knees into your chest hug really tightly. You can rock side to side, noticing the massage of your lower back. With your right hand on your left knee, bring both legs over to the right, finding a twist here. Keep the left hand, keep the right hand. I said that all wrong. You're twisting your knees to the left. Your right hand reaches out to the right, and your shoulder blades, your right shoulder blade is heading back in the direction of the floor. Use your breath in this twist to just allow yourself to melt into the twist without pulling. That right hand can be resting on top. I've got the hands all wrong. The top hand can be resting on top of those knees. Again, it's not pulling, it's just using the weight of the hand to allow gravity to work a little bit more. As you breathe and breathe in, notice where you find the space to breathe. Where part of your torso is compressed, the other part is lengthening and is more spacious. Notice where your thoughts go, what your mind does while you are sitting still in this place. Try to keep your attention on this moment. Start to bring your knees back to center, coming out of the twist. You can wrap your arms around your legs and again, rock side to side. Now this time I'm going to say the correct hand and the correct leg. I will not get us confused. With your right hand on top of the opposite knee, bring both knees over to the right. Extend the left arm out, palm face up. You can even turn your gaze to look at the left arm, the left hand. Settle in here without pulling, without gripping, just allowing. Slowly bring your knees back to the center. Come onto your back. If you'd like to take another big hug, you can do that. And eventually, you can lengthen your legs out onto the mat. Let your feet flop open. Allow your arms to be out to the side slightly, palms face up. You can take as much space as you like. We'll settle into a short relaxation at your own time, at your own pace. If you'd like to cover up with a blanket, do that. Settle in and allow yourself to feel the ways that your body has released some tension. Thank you for practicing.